Learning how to break fall properly is one of the most important parts of learning the basic skills of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So let's take a look at how we break fall. We're going to basically teach our students 3 ways of breaking fall. The front roll, the side fall, and the back roll. Let's start with the front roll, which is most likely the most difficult one. During the front roll, the key element is to first stand in a good base. I'm going to take 1 step forward and I'm going to plant that foot on the ground. So I'm leading with my right. That means I'm going to bring, as a beginner, my left hand down on the mat, and I'm going to bring my right hand in so that my fingers are pointed towards the inside, like this. Once I get into that position, I'm going to execute a shoulder roll on top of my right shoulder. The most important thing to keep in mind is that I'm trying to protect my body from damage. So it's very important for me to tuck my chin in and to land sideways so I don't get the wind knocked out of me. Right foot forward, left hand on the ground, fingers pointing towards the inside, roll, and complete the roll by landing sideways with one hand right here and the other one extended by the side of your body. Let's see that from a different angle. I will start in a good base, lead with 1 foot, plant one hand on the ground, the other hand, my fingers are pointed towards the inside. I'm going to roll on top of my shoulder and land. Watch the positioning of my legs. As I start to roll, the back leg will come like this towards my lead leg. Ankle behind the knee. That makes it easier for me to roll through. Left hand on the ground, fingers of the right hand pointed towards the inside, roll, and hit the ground. I'm heading sideways, my chin is tucked in, my left arm is extended. I don't want to fall on the elbow. Right hand is against my belly. And this is how you execute the front roll. The back roll is much easier. For the back roll, I'm going to start with a good base once again. Now, I'm going to bend at the knees. It's very important not to just flop back, but bend at the knees. And once I fall, I choose one shoulder to roll on top of it. Be sure not to roll right in the middle because you're going to hurt your neck. We're always trying to be safe with this, so protect your neck at all times during training. I'm going to bend my knees, and my hands traditionally are extended forward so that I can balance myself without falling back right away. So, like this. Now I'll execute the back roll over one shoulder. Watch how I tuck my chin in and I make sure that my neck is not in line with the roll. I can go back to my knees or to a standing position. Let's watch it so I can roll into a standing position. I'll stand in a good base. Now I'm going to bend at the knees, fall back, roll over the shoulder, and stand. Like this. The last break fall is very easy, and it's mainly used when you fall from foot sweeps or things of the kind. I'm just going to fall on my side, and maybe this is the easiest way to get the student to be comfortable with the idea of falling on the mat. I'm going to leave one foot right there. This leg is going to shoot through. I'm going to fall on my side, keeping the same idea there. Chin tucked in, arm extended to the side. Once I land, I make sure that I'm in a comfortable position and my whole body absorbs the shock of the break fall. Alright guys, we're going to cover here judo throws today. We're going to do 3 basic throws: osotogari, ochigari, and kochigari. The first thing to teach your students will always be the proper judo stance. Now, in my judo stance, I want to make sure that I never, ever cross my feet while sparring. So if we're both, training here, I don't want to be in a base where this happens. If I do cross my feet, it's very easy for him to take me down, especially on foot sweeps. So what stance should I use? It's not a wrestling stance because there's a gi involved. So in other words, I will not assume a stagger wrestling stance here, since that overhand grip here over the top of the head nullifies that stance. If he does that to me, it's very easy for me to go here or even go further on the belt. And even if he shoots a single leg or a double here, he is in danger of getting thrown. So we need to modify that stagger stance, that wrestling stagger stance a little. And I will modify it by making it a little bit upright. So it's more like a Greco-Roman stance than it is for a freestyle stance. My elbows are always in. My palm, one palm here, will be very careful blocking any attacks because we want, the grip that we want the most, it's a collar grip. Be it right here, or there. Alright, so I got to be very careful with this sort of grip here, and my opponent will be looking for the same things. So one hand will protect. If James tries to reach, I'm going to be blocking, and the key is, at high level, jiu-jitsu and judo, whoever gets the grip first will win the match. In other words, if he gets a good grip, unless he's really not technically sound, he will throw me, and I got to realize that. So we're fighting for grip here. So as a standard, teaching method for our students, we utilize one grip right here on the lapel, and the other one on his sleeve right by the elbow. And that's going to be our 101 judo grip. That's how we're going to teach our students. You might bring it a little lower. Sometimes you're going to control both sleeves. Sometimes you're going to control just, the collar. So it'll depend on the situation. But as a useful way to teach your students, just start with the very basic. We got to teach our students how to walk. And it's very simple how to walk in judo. It's easier said than done though. All I got to do is if I move to my left here, I'm going to step first with my left foot and drag my right foot here. If I move to my right, I'm going to revert the process. I'm going to step first with my right foot, follow with the left, to the front foot first, drag the back to the back foot first, drag the front one. So that's a very simple way to approach our stance and the way we walk. Obviously, we're not going to do it like this. Once you get, used to it, you're going to be able to move around in a relaxed manner. You're going to be able to change levels while keeping your center of gravity right there, where it should be. We don't want to lean. We don't want to cross legs, and that's an important thing. Always, good drills, just have them, get a good judo grip, walk around. Always compare it to dancing. You got to work with your partner. Get a rhythm going, all right? Don't try to be, if both of us are struggling, we're not going to learn how to walk properly. Once I get the walk done, then we can start doing the throws. The first throw that we always teach is osotogari. Osotogari is a very basic throw. For teaching purposes, it's going to stand square with me here, and I'm going to use a basic grip, all right? For osotogari, once again, personal preference, I prefer to grab over the top. Since we're demonstrating just this universal grip here, we'll do. Now, the first step here will be stepping with my left leg here. And I am stepping, as you can see, beyond the line of his legs. So I'm going to go beyond this line here. I don't want to step in the same line, and I definitely don't want to step before that. Why is that? Because once I throw this leg right here, it's important in judo or in wrestling to first off-balance your opponent. If I throw the leg and I take a short step here and I throw this leg far away, he's in better base than I am. So he will be able to take me down at will. That's not what we want to do. So the key word here is off-balancing, or as the Japanese call it, kuzushi. So I'm going to take one big step right here. And what I will do is bring James towards me by using my grip. All right? So if I place him right here, so you guys can see what's happening here, one big step. Now as I move in, I'm going to move his head, put it right here, and watch what happens. Two things happen there. His hip glues to my hip, and you can see that his left foot here will come off the ground. So if I'm doing my kuzushi correctly here, I get him in this position here. Once again, once you get there, once you got the off balance and the throw is already done. All I got to do is finish. The way that I'm going to finish my osotogari is by bringing my forehead to the ground. At the same time, tilting, I'm going to strike and tilt my body so this leg comes up. So my back will become parallel to the mat and my forehead will go down. As I do that, I maintain a strong grip and it's going to look a little like this. Here, alright? Once I land, notice that I try to keep control of my opponent, always keeping a hold of this arm, keeping it up. This needs to be taught in practice so that every student finishes the throw in this position. It's a scoring position. Not only executed the throw, but I land a knee on the belly, and it offers me an opportunity to attack with the arm bar. Once again, control the grip. Now you can see that I'm switching here to my personal grip. It doesn't matter if you do it here or here. One big step, throw. From this angle here, I'm going to go right here. Watch. Notice the off-balancing and look at how his head is under my control there. That's what sets him up. Now I can finish the throw. Final angle. Now, for the next throw, it's Ouchigari. Very similar throw, and in a way that it's a basic judo throw. And we're going to execute it. This time we're going to sweep inside his legs. Now, the step in motion in this is completely different. The only principle is that it's still a sweep. How will I start, Ouchigari? Normally, I ask the student to stand with his base a little wider than usual. That will help with the learning process. And I'm going to teach my students to take the first step. Imagine a triangle. He's going to place his right foot, if he's starting to throw to the right side, on the apex of this triangle. Here. Now, the next step is my kuzushi, my off-balancing. I'm going to get close to my opponent, take away this distance. I cannot throw him from that far away. And at the same time, I want him heavy on one leg. Which leg? In Ouchigari, this leg, because that's the leg that I'm going to sweep. So I'm going to step right here. I bring him close. Watch what I do with my grip here. Bring him heavy right there. I'm slowing it down a lot. I would not stay here for a long time, but this is what it's going to look like. Here. Now I'm placing most of James's weight right here on his left leg. So therefore, I can follow through with the movement and sweep. As I sweep, my body's glued to his, and I follow him to the ground. This is not a throw, and that's a very common mistake, where the guy goes and does this here. This is what's going to happen. My opponent, if I don't commit to the throw, my opponent will simply pick that foot up, place it back. If I don't use kuzushi at all, I don't care how much I commit here with my lower body, there's no weight on that leg. That leg is free to move, and he will, counter the throw. So, it's a double component here. Upper body and lower body, and they have to act at the same time. So, come in, I'm heavy, he's heavy right there. Now I can sweep. One important factor about the sweep here, I don't want to lock my legs deep there. So, you can watch from this angle here, once I sweep, I don't want to go high on the leg. I want to go low on the leg, almost heel to heel, right? In a half circle fashion. And then I'm going to drive. Once you drive, remember, you got to stay close to him. You don't want to move far away. So let's see this executed here. So right here, here, and you follow through, all right? Once again, here, watch it, pressure, always pressure. I always bring the pressure right here. Now he's heavy. And I can follow through, and I fall down. Once I fall down, chances are I'm either going to find myself in the guard or half guard. So it's a sweep it's a foot sweep. It's a throw that needs to be followed by good stance. I don't want to fall there and flop inside his guard. I'm going to be vulnerable for attacks. Last but not least, the Ouchigari. That's the last throw. This time, once again, I'm going to foot sweep on the inside of his legs, but I'm going to attack the leg on the same side of the elbow that I'm controlling. So he's standing a little wider for me so I can teach and practice this easier without hurting him. And the step is going to be similar. There are many ways of teaching and training the kochigari. This is the traditional way. So here, we're going to come here. I'm heavy right there. Watch how much he's tilted here to his left. He's heavy on that left foot. Now when I want to sweep, and I sweep, I'm going to commit with power. So once again, right here. Now close the distance. Watch how I'm tilting him right here. Now I can go ahead and foot sweep. This is a great throw to use in combination with an opposite knee over pass. We're going to cover that pass later on in the different class. So right here, close. Now, watch from this angle. Watch the tilting motion when I execute the throw. Here. Pull the back leg forward. Move this leg in. Foot sweep. There's no need to try to lock in too high here. Once I commit with that leg, that's when he might counter throw me. So it's very important on the foot sweeps, especially inside foot sweeps, heel to heel, right? There are other variations of these throws. Those are just the traditional ways, but that's the basic way. It's always the best way to teach your students. So that pretty much covers our basic throws. Thank you. In this segment, we're going to cover 3 other basic judo throws. So we're going to do ogoshi, we're going to do surinage, and we're going to do ippon surinage. So we're going to start with a very basic skill that is required for all the 3 throws, the back step. So the back step in judo, it's a very special technique here that will help you with any hip throw. And that goes not only for judo, but any hip throw that you might try to hit in wrestling. So even without a gi, you're going to still need this skill here. So let's say my opponent stands right here. Once again, let's make his stance a little wider. My first step is going to come from my regular stance and across to my left side and forward, right here. So this is my first step. And this step here, I don't want to overcommit my weight to my lead leg. Why? If I do so, that means my heel is going to touch the ground. And once I try to back step here, there'll be a lot of drag from my heel being touching that mat. So what I want to do here is that first step, I step with the ball of my foot right here. And my heel is off the ground. That will allow for a faster transition into the back step. Now once I get that first step, that first foot right there, all I got to do is step with a trail leg. My trail leg will step through, and I'll just hold the gi here so you guys can notice what I'm going to do. My back step will come through, and I'm going to come to this position. Once I establish that position, it's very easy to lift. It's very easy to lift. He feels like a feather here. But it's important for me to do a couple of things. Number one is to move very close to him. I got to make sure that I'm underneath my opponent. The second thing is to keep my legs bent. If I back step with my legs already stretched, I'm going to have to lift him with my lower back, which is not a good idea. I want to lift him with my legs. So I step in close. The second thing that I want to do is step in with my legs bent, right here. Now, once I do this here, my trail leg will come also bent. And the third important thing is that I'm stepping inside his base. Here. So you can see right there that my base is inside James's base. Not outside like this. So if you watch it right here, watch the footwork here. The first step comes here. Right? The trail step steps in. Watch my heels, they are off the ground. This is hard to accomplish at first, but now the lift becomes much easier. When I do my back step, I also have to maintain a good grip. Now, for every hip throw out there, I'm going to require an aggressive, strong grip on this side here if I'm throwing him to my left. The other grip, it depends on which throw I'm using. So we're going to start by demonstrating the ponseoi. So as a standard grip, I'm going to use the elbow grip on this side here. And now we're standing in our stances here. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and take that first step. Now the ippon seoi requires for me to use my second arm underneath his armpit. If I don't open this up, it's going to be hard to get in there. So watch what I'm going to do here with my left elbow. I open right here. Alright? Now once I do this, I can let go of my far grip. I'm going to shoot my arm right here as I come forward into this position. Alright? Very important here to make sure that your students are squeezing that arm between the forearm and your arm. Why? It's a very common habit to go out there and do ippon seoi over the shoulder. If I miss the throw, I'm going to get choked out. He's right there around my neck. So make it a good habit of controlling the elbow and controlling that arm, pinching it right here between the forearm and your arm. So I'm right here, I'm going to stab, and I lift. Once I lift, the finish comes very natural. All I got to do is lower my forehead to the ground. He's going to go over the top. Now, make sure that you keep good form. When you throw, if you're throwing and you feel like you're falling forward, that means your base is not good. So I'm going to throw him here once. Watch my base throughout the whole movement. My feet, first step, ball of the foot. Now I'm going to open up the arm. I'm going to shoot this arm through. I'm going to make sure it's in the V of my arm here. Trail leg comes in. My knees are bent. My knees are slightly pointing to the outside. And my base is inside his base. Once I do this, I lift and I finish. You can see that I didn't move forward with it. Even though he rolled here and it was a high amplitude throw, I stay in my base. All I do is drop to my, knee on the belly position here, exposing the arm like we did it before. So that's pretty much standard. So I'm right here. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to walk, and do this. You can see that in the end I added a little pull. That's to make it easier on him to land. I don't need to punish my partner here in every rep. Now, let's see the ippon seoi nage from this angle here. So once again, I got two grips. I start with my elbow grip right here. My right hand is holding the collar. I'm going to take one step first on the ball of my foot, and I'm opening his left elbow so there's room for me to attack. Shoot the arm through, take your back step, look straight forward. Now I'm going to hit, and that's the hip bump there by extending my legs, and I bring him over the top. I land always stable, I dig my knee in, keep his arm up, and that's the ippon seoi nage. Now, if you know the ippon seoi nage, which is a throw that can be used without a gi as well, you're going to be able to teach and practice the morote seoi nage, which is the basic seoi nage. So, morote seoi nage involves two hands, and it requires the use of a gi. So without a gi, this throw is not possible. Now, it's a very strong throw because of the nature of my right hand grip. So my left hand will work the same way. Now my right hand, as you can see, I grab his gi. I don't want to grab this gi too high though, because if I grab too high when I try to switch to morote seoi nage, I'm going to feel stuck here. It's going to slow me down or even block my movement altogether. So what I want to do is slowly slide my hand down here to sleeve. Now once I do that, it's very common to see in judo competitions the guy that's, fighting right here. If you do this, he's going to know exactly what you're trying to pull off. So don't slide, unless you want to use it as a fake, don't slide your hand down and stay there for a long time because your opponent's going to figure out which throw you're going to prefer to use. So control the elbow, control the sleeve low in the sleeve here, and the step is the same. Like I said, once you master your back step, you master all those throws here. So take one step, open it up. Now watch the movement. Here's where it's different. I maintain my grip here on the right side. I'm going to use my right elbow to go underneath his right shoulder, like so. So this is the movement. But I cannot do it without, at the same time, taking my back step. So I do both things at once. I lift and I throw. So that's Murate Suinage or simply Suinage. Right here, one step and open. Second step and pivot and throw. Now let's take a look at it from this angle here. Right here, a lower grip, first step, pivot, and throw. Now to finish this throw series, we're going to work on Ogoshi. Ogoshi basically uses the belt. So it's not a throw that I can use, in a no-gi competition. No-gi, I would use ukigoshi, which is not part of our basic curriculum, but it's very similar to throw. The mechanics are all the same. It's all about the back step. So I start right here, control the left elbow, take one step. My right hand, though, sinks in by his hip bone. The way that I'm going to show this here is the way that I teach it. It's not the way that I'm going to use during a fight because you need a different setup. But the way that you want to teach your students is like this. Here, and arm comes around. Now, as I take my back step, I control the belt, and I put my hips in. My grip here in the left elbow stays tight. I bump the hip, and I execute the throw. Once again, same standard position. So I'm right here, right? So prepare, back step, execute the throw. Seen from this angle here, once again, same left-handed grip. Start by taking that step and sinking that arm like an underhook. Now, back step, control the belt, pivot, and throw. And that's it for basic hip throws in judo. This is the final segment on judo throws, and we're going to cover 3 different techniques. One is taitoshi, the second one is going to be the eshi harai, the foot sweep, and the third one, tomonagi, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, probably favorite throw. We're going to start with taitoshi. Taitoshi, we're going to start in our normal stance here, so we're both facing each other. For, once again, for, teaching purposes, I'm going to use a standard grip, elbow, and lapel. And once again, we're going to concentrate here on our footwork. So I'm going to imagine a triangle, and I'm going to step on the apex of that triangle, here. So my first step, if I was like this here facing my opponent, first step would be here. Short step, and this is going to be my pivot point. So I'm going to pivot around that foot. Now the next step in a throw is the off-balancing, kuzushi. So kuzushi in taitoshi is vital. If I have no kuzushi here, I will not have the throw. He's going to throw me back very easily. So the off-balance will consist of bringing this elbow, his right elbow, down and his lapel this way. What I'm trying to accomplish is to bring his left foot off the ground, get him to tilt to his right. As I'm doing that, though, I'm not going to stand here. I'm going to pivot and do my stepping. So the step in motion here is first step. Second step, as I'm using my kuzushi here, is to come here. Third step, and obviously I'm exaggerating here, will be to place my foot on the outside. Now, I don't want to plant that foot on the ground. I just want the ball of my foot on the ground. Heel is pointed up and to the outside, and I finish this by tilting. So I'm going to move with my whole body, especially bringing this elbow in and using my right hand as if I was trying to hook to the ground. So here, he's going to pivot on top of that base leg, and he's going to get thrown. This throw, it's not about upper arm strength. It's not about, sweeping here. I don't sweep the base foot at all. It's about off-balancing and making sure that as I'm off-balancing my opponent, he has a point there where he's going to trip over and fall. So it's very basic, judo at its best. So elbow control, right hand here, take your first step. Now, as I approach, you can see that I'm kind of always, with my knees bent. I don't want to approach my opponent and try to throw him here with, a taller base than he has, because if I start doing those steps, I have no power, and number 2, I'm high. My center of gravity is high off the ground. It's going to be easy for him to foot sweep me here. So make sure that as you come, I bring in that man towards me till I finish the throw. So right here, here, and here. From this angle, this is probably the best angle to observe my pivoting motion. First foot will come here. Now watch what I do, especially with my left elbow. Left elbow will come in. My right arm comes up and towards me. And it's going to do a full circle until I hit down on the ground. So just imagine a big looping right hook to the ground. So right here. Now as I do that, my body is glued to his. I'm not going to be far away, and it's not a hip throw. I'm not trying to lift with the hips. I just put my hips in there to execute the second step. So, here. See that again? Right here. Now we're going to move on to Dashi Harai, the king of all foot sweeps. Very basic foot sweep, very useful. Amazingly enough, this works great in wrestling without a gi. As long as you can pull this off from a double under situation, you can do it from an over and under. It's a great foot sweep. You got to know how to do it. Foot sweeps are mainly about timing. So we cannot teach this in a static fashion. I will teach you how to do it first in the same position, but if we want to teach our students, we got to get them to move and develop a sense of timing. So I got to hit that move right when my opponent is taking a step. Not one fraction of a second before, not one fraction of a second afterwards. If I miss that perfect time, I'm going to miss the throw. So the throw will consist basically of two motions. One is a foot sweeping motion. Now in order to learn how to foot sweep, the best way is to start drilling by yourself. The leg that will be the base leg has to bend some. So my base leg will bend some. The leg that's sweeping, I'm going to execute the foot sweep with the plant of my foot vertical. Alright, so I'm going to have the plant of my foot facing this wall, like this. Now, as I do that, I don't want a couple of things to happen. Number one is to have my foot so low that my left foot bounces off the mat. So as if I try to sweep here, I stutter step. Like that's the guy that tried to sweep too low. This slows me down, so I don't want that stuttering motion. On the opposite side of the spectrum, I don't want to do things like this here, where I'm finishing the foot sweep too high. So I'm not really even touching the ground. Once I get used to this, it should make a sweeping sound. So it should be like this. Alright? And as I practice, and this is a drill that should be used, I also tilt with my hands to get the habit of tilting. Sweep and tilt. Sweep and tilt. Watch my upper body. It's tilting with the sweep. Because I'm going to take my opponent with it in the steering wheel motion. And that's the next step, knowing how to use your upper body while you foot sweep. As I foot sweep here, I'm going to make sure that I control my opponent in a steering wheel motion. So if I'm foot sweeping with my left, I'm taking my car and forcing it to turn to the left. So I'm steering like this here. So from here, I'm going to bring him here. And I hit right there, right by the ankle. I don't want to hit him here. Right? That's the worst thing. That's something that you don't want to see in the school, and something that you always see when beginners are training this. And you put them to spar, and they're doing this. This is not technique. All right? Let's try to do it properly. Hit it in the right spot. And watch how I'm using my upper body to tilt and lift James. His foot here is not touching the ground. If I'm foot sweeping his right foot, I want all of his weight to be balanced on that foot, the one that I'm taking away. If I don't tilt, I'm going to foot sweep. Even if I hit the sweep right, so what? He's going to pick it up because his other foot is on the ground. Pick it up and you miss the throw. I want to make sure that I'm tilting. Alright? Now, how should we drill this? We need to walk. So there comes the complicated part. getting your partner to understand that he needs to work with you. And James will work with me here, meaning that he's not going to anticipate my move. He has to relax and he has to walk normally. He cannot be watching my feet and be scared of falling, because if he does that, go ahead and foot sweep me there. If he does this here, I'm not going to be able to train. So I got to have a partner that is going to cooperate here. I'm going to drill it normally for time or for reps, and then he's going to have this chance to apply the throw. We're working together towards a common goal, and not trying to antagonize each other by doing this or hitting it hard against the shin. It's going to turn into a war. That's not the idea. So how are we going to move here? I'm going to place him right here, my back towards the camera. I'm going to take a step the same way as we always walk in judo. If I want to move to my left, I'm going to step to my left, drag the right. He moves with me. If I want to go the other way, go the other way. Looks very much like dancing, but it's not dancing, it's drilling. So I'm going to go ahead and walk there. I'm going to take 3 steps to that side. After I take 3 steps to the side, I'm going to take 3 steps back. On the 3rd step, I'm going to hit the sweep. And I want you to notice the timing of that foot sweep there. So I'm going to go ahead and count out loud so you can follow. Go. 1, 2, 3. Now he's going to come back. 1, 2. And now, in the beginning of the 3rd step, I hit my foot sweep. Not before the beginning of the 3rd step. Not after, because I'm going to show you exactly what would happen in those 3 occasions. So we're going to just follow the 2nd step here. Alright? If I do it too early, this, right? His base is still in that foot, and he still has that foot on the ground as well. Nothing happens. I move him, if anything, I move him a little sideways. Now, if I do it too late, same thing, right? Looks horrible. It doesn't look like good technique. Now, if I do it right, we're going to do 3 and 3 again. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and hit it. And tilt. Force him to fall on the ground. Right? Very simple throw. Now, to wrap the segment up, we're going to work on tomonagi. Tomonagi is every jiu-jitsu guy's favorite judo throw. Why? Normally, jiu-jitsu guys don't like falling, and they like to pull guard. Tomonagi gives the opportunity to fake a throw and pull guard at the same time. That's what most people think. This is not the view shared by our association. Our group believes that you got to be able to take the man down. I don't want to fight from the bottom. So I'm not going to pull guard. I'm not going to fake a tomonagi to pull guard because I don't want to be on the bottom. So if I throw, I'm going to throw him to go all the way and land it mounted or at least on top. I'm not going to go and butt scoop. All right, that's the classic, sitting on my butt tomonagi. Right here, you come right here, and I pretended that I threw him, and now he's fighting for the top. No scoring points for him, no scoring points for me, but he has an advantage. And I just showed a weakness. I just demonstrated to him that I don't want any part in the stand-up fighting. That's not good. All right, we got to take that man down. So when I do tomonagi, the first thing I need to create here is a reaction on his part. So I will not start tomonagi by sitting back, because if I'm sitting back, James will pull back as well. So what I will do is I'm going to start pushing forward. So I start pushing forward. Don't exaggerate with the push, because he can hit a tomonagi of its own. So just react a little. If we get into the edge of the mat, that's the time to push, because the man will not want to go, off the mat. That looks bad for him. The referee may call stalling on his part. Depending on the rules of the tournament, I might look, in some styles of wrestling nowadays, you get a point by pushing people off the mat. So that's not good for him. He will want to try to come back with it. When he comes back with power against me, that's when I'm going to hit my tomonagi. Never, hit a tomonagi while walking that way there. If we're going that way and I hit a tomonagi, he's going to fall. It's not going to make any sense. So after I get that reaction, there are a couple of ways of hitting this throw here. We're going to cover the basic way. I want to go underneath him, just like a good sweep. I got to make sure that he's not far away from me. So it's very hard to demonstrate this slowly, but what I'm trying to accomplish here is a good pulling motion, opening my elbows, and at the same time a sliding motion when I go underneath my opponent. Now, We're going to start right here. I'm going to move a little further away from the ball. I'm going to push right here. Once I get that reaction here, he's going to push back. Watch, my back foot will slide forward through, his legs here. So between his legs. At the same time, the foot that leads, and this can be done in a couple of ways. This is just the way I prefer because of the nature of jiu-jitsu. When you land on the ground, once again, it's not pure judo. We're thinking a lot about the ground game here. My lead leg will be placed on his hip. Now, the pulling motion will take place. So I get his reaction. I step right here, and I finish with a back roll. Now, once I finish, the same idea applies. I pull strongly here on his arm, and I try to get good posture here. This time I got lucky. I executed a throw, plus I landed mounted. 6 points for me in jiu-jitsu competition. Great. That's not our goal, though. Our goal is to make sure we got, positional dominance. Sometimes the guy might land, a little further, or he bounces, he gets one knee in. That's fine. At least, I got my throw, and I'm fighting from the top. That's the key element here. I want to fight from the top. So again, I'm going to start right here, right? Going to give it a little tug. He comes in with it. Now I'm going to slide underneath the man and roll back. That's as slow as I can execute this throw. Normally I would execute it way faster with way more explosion. So this is a throw that needs to be explosive, requires a lot of power, and you got to go and create a reaction. If you don't create that reaction, he's not going to fall for it. Do not attempt the butt scoot tomonagi. Now we're going to discuss the structure of your basic Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class. This will vary from school to school, so I'm going to tell you more or less what happens in my school, and we're going to go on from there. Every single Jiu-Jitsu class will start with a warm-up. During the warm-up, you're going to be running around the mat, doing laps, you're going to do lunges, and most likely you're going to go through the basic routine of shrimping, doing alligator walks, shoulder rolls, standing up to bays, and all the common exercises and drills that are covered in the state. After that, and this should take about 10% of the class time, we're going to have the stretching portion of the class. It is very important that you're serious about this part. Conditioning and the warm-up part, they will guarantee that you have a better prepared body for the activities to come. So you're not going to get injured as much as you would if you just stepped on a mat and decided to do techniques or even roll right away. So when the stretching takes place, we're going to normally form a circle, and all you have to do is follow your instructor's sequence. So every school will have a different stretching sequence, and you're going to follow along, trying your best to increase your flexibility without injuring yourself. After that, normally the students are paired up for drilling. Those are short 3-5 minute drills, or for reps, where you're going to have the opportunity to drill basic techniques that are important for your jiu-jitsu. So we're going to be drilling, and normally in my school what I do is have them drill basic takedowns like the double leg or single leg takedown, and we try to pair up students that have a better knowledge and understanding of the technique with those who are beginning. That way the class will run smoothly. The drills in my class take about 20% of the class time. So we got 10% for the warm-up so far, 10% for the stretching, and 20% for the drilling. Next is the technical demonstration of technique, and that's a very important part of our class here. We're going to have basically 3 techniques per class to be demonstrated, and we're going to show you techniques that are relevant, and they're grouped together for a reason. Every single technique is covered in our 60-class basic Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu curriculum videotape series. And it's pretty much standardized throughout the association. What the class that I teach in my base school is going to be very similar to the class that any instructor of my group will teach in their school. And that's very important for us to keep everything standardized and to provide you, the student, with the best possible instruction. And this will take about 30% of the class time. After this, when the students are paired up, they're drilling techniques, and they're being corrected by an instructor, there will most likely be a water break, where you can take a break and come back for the last, final, and most important part of the class, sparring. I I want you as a beginner student to keep in mind that sparring is not competition. Our goal is to provide you with a easy opportunity to train your techniques in a realistic fashion without hurting yourself. So please, do not try to hurt your training partner. He's there to help you, and without him, you're not going to be able to progress in jiu-jitsu as you would like to. So take it easy during sparring, and do not fear, the act of tapping. If you feel any pain or if you feel any discomfort, go ahead and tap. It's better to be safe than sorry. Check your ego at the door. It is very important not to try to be the toughest guy in the gym. We don't want that kind of attitude. That's not what we are all about. We're trying to train and grow together as a group. So when you spar, enjoy your time, don't cause injuries, and don't get injured yourself. And that's the true way to go. After that, the class will bow out, and we finished. We appreciate having you as a student of our association. Thank you. Now I'm going to discuss some finer points in conditioning for grappling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in particular. Now I want to get one thing clear first. I'm not trying to give you advice on what to do. I'm not trying to advocate any particular exercise program. This is just what works for me. I'm just letting you know what works for me. If you start an exercise program, I believe it's very important. I'm a physician myself, and I believe it's very, very important to consult with a physician to make sure that you get a checkup and you're ready and will profit from the exercising program that you choose. Now, as far as conditioning, it is my belief that conditioning is not to be done at the gym only. This is not the place for you to do your background in conditioning because it's not going to work. You're at the gym for a very specific purpose, to train and learn the technique of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That doesn't mean Jiu-Jitsu is not a good exercise. By all means, it's an excellent exercise. It works every muscle in your body, and it's a great way to stay in shape, a fun way to stay in shape, and it's not boring like some exercise classes out there. Now, the key is it's very demanding on the body, so it's extremely important for you to do some sort of conditioning outside of class to maximize the gains of your Jiu-Jitsu class. How should we proceed about that? Well, like I said, I'm not giving you advice, and I'm only telling you what I do. I always try to get a lot of cardiovascular conditioning in throughout the week. So what works for me is running 3 times a week, or biking 3 times a week, or some long-term activity where I'm keeping my heart rate up for at least 45 minutes. This makes me lose weight easier, it keeps me in shape, I keep a low body fat percentage, and it works great for me. I cannot speak highly enough of the benefits of cardiovascular training and weight loss for you. So always think about cardiovascular conditioning. Take it slow, consult with a doctor before you start any exercise program, and have fun with it. Make it something that you enjoy doing and you can do on a regular basis. Now, if you're more serious into training, you might want to also consider some sort of weightlifting program. As far as weightlifting goes, I personally think you should not lift as much as most people do, like bodybuilders and everything. That doesn't work. A lot of those athletes use performance-enhancing drugs that allow them to train non-stop for many days. What you want to do is just lift to your needs. So it's a different need if you're a professional athlete like me, or somebody that just casually wants to increase their power for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes. So you can lift maybe twice a week, maybe at most 3 times a week, but believe me, you don't need anything more than that. I normally lift 2 to 3 times a week, and I work different groups. I try to stick with basic exercises, squatting, deadlifting, benching. I do a lot of what are called unique lifts, and I work a lot with sandbags, and we might talk about that a little later on a different segment. But basically, it's important that you focus on core strength. So be strong with your core. Do not try isolation exercises where you're just doing little, curls and trying to get a pump. It's not about getting a pump. I don't care about the pump. It's about getting power, getting stronger, getting healthier. So getting a little pump or looking this way or looking the other way, that's secondary. That's you know, it's not a requirement. It's not something you want to focus on. You want to focus on getting stronger so your body can perform better. Performance is everything. Looks, that doesn't mean a thing. So you know, make sure you get an overall exercises for your body, whatever you choose to do. I don't like to work with machines. I personally prefer free weights. Make sure you have good guidance, and once again, you got to consult a doctor before you start any sort of exercise program, especially a weightlifting one. It's very important to consider grip training if you're serious about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I live by grip training. That's probably, as far as lifting, there are days where I'm tired, I don't want to lift for my body. I do not miss my grip training routine, and there are specific things that you can do by your grip. Ask your instructor if he had a talk with me. Most likely, you know, I went on and on about the things that I do for my training, and there are sources on the internet where you can do research. So weight training wise, keep it simple, keep it basic, core related. Compound movements. Olympic lifting is great, benching is great, squatting is a must, deadlifting is awesome, and grip strength, grip power. You want to be able to lay hands on your opponent, heavy hands, and you want to know that he will not be able to break that grip unless you want him to. As far as cardiovascular conditioning, like I said, 3 times a week at least, and make it, you know, at least 40 to 45 minutes. Enjoy yourself. Jiu-Jitsu is a great exercise by itself, but it should be supplemented by other activities. Keep stretching. Don't just limit your stretching to the class, and make sure that you enjoy Jiu-Jitsu. Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a great exercise, a fun way to lose weight, a fun way to keep in shape. So make sure you take the most out of your classes and enjoy your time with us. Thank you. In this segment, we're going to demonstrate to you the basic positions of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, things that you're going to see at the gym, and you must get the basic nomenclature so you can identify the positions, and we're also going to cover the basic scoring criteria, even though normally we don't keep score during normal sparring matches at the gym. So we're going to start with a takedown. A takedown or throw is any position where we're starting on our knees and I'm taking my opponent down to the mat. So when we start on our knees here, we're facing each other. If we're both standing and I take him down to the mat, that's a takedown or throw. Now, those are worth 2 points in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition. So this would be a takedown. Right here, shot, takedown. That's worth 2 points, like I said. Once we get to the ground, go ahead and go down, I will often find myself in a position where I'm inside his guard. There are 2 ways that my opponent can fight from the bottom, and that is playing close guard, which means that he has his legs wrapped around my waist, and playing open guard. As a beginner student, you're going to see there are many ways of playing open guard, and a lot of them have, you know, proper names like butterfly guard, sitting up guard, spider guard, X guard, and others. So don't worry about those at first. It'll come with time. My goal when attacking from the top is to pass guard and to get to a better position. Now, our goal overall in sparring is always to get the submission. The philosophy of our association is to always try to submit our opponent. It's not important how many points you have scored. We're trying to fight in a realistic manner. So points don't account for anything as far as self-defense or mixed martial arts. So we're trying to get control of our opponent to use that as a platform for our submission, not as scoring just, you know, per se. Now, we will try to pass the guard. What is passing the guard? Passing the guard is any position where I'm bypassing his legs and getting to the side. So in this case here, I'm just going to show you a basic one. We're fighting from the guard. I'm going to go ahead, and this is a guard pass. So I executed a guard pass, and I get to his side. Any situation where I'm on his side here, it's called a basic side control. As far as side control positions, we have 3 basic types. Regular side control, sideways side control, and inverted side control. When you pass the guard, it is worth 3 points. It is not the act of holding side control that is worth the points. It is act of passing the guard. So far we got takedowns for 2, passing the guard for 3. Now we have a position called knee on the belly in Jiu-Jitsu, which is pretty dominant. This is knee on the belly. Even though the knee is not really on the belly, it still has that name. That is worth 2 points in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition. Once again, it's a position where I can apply submissions from, and I have some control over my opponent. Now, if I slide that knee all the way across, I find myself in a mounted position. The basic mount is worth 4 points. We have different types of mounts where I'm sideways like this, or I'm like that. It's still a mount. It is a mount as long as I'm on top of my opponent. I have passed guard, I'm beyond side control. One knee is on each side of his torso. So that's a mount. The mount is probably the most difficult position to achieve, so it's worth 4 points. The same goes for the back mount. When he rolls over, this is worth 4 points. Sometimes there's another type of back mount where I have my legs in. That's called a back mount with hooks. So hooks are any sort of leverage fulcrums with my ankles or feet where I'm trying to either generate power or prevent him from moving around. Once we get done with that position, we can cover a different sort of scoring position, the sweep. So whenever I reverse my opponent, that's called a sweep, and that is worth 2 points. A reversal is when I'm on the bottom and my opponent is on top, and we change the situation. Now he's on the bottom and I'm on top. So as far as scoring, we have the highest scoring positions being the mount and back mount, 4 points each. Then we have passing the guard for 3 points. We have knee on the belly for 2 points, takedowns for 2 points, and sweep for 2 points. Welcome to Marathon Day. This is the last class of our Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu curriculum. This class will not consist of any new techniques, new positions, or anything of the sort. The goal of the class is to provide our students the opportunity to train and drill the techniques that have been covered throughout our Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu curriculum. So here's what we should do. We should pick a couple of basic Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu techniques, such as the arm bar from the mount, the arm bar from the guard, the triangle from the guard, the ankle lock from the guard, and the double leg takedown, and have our students drill them over and over again. The final goal will be to be able to execute 100 of those techniques each for a total of 500 techniques during one class. This should take approximately 30 to 40 minutes to each student to accomplish. So make sure you give plenty of time and warm up properly. Once our students are able to execute 500 techniques in a row, that means we're on the right path to provide them with good technical skill and excellent cardiovascular conditioning.